And then lastly, Lamar Jackson's going to be the highest paid player in the history of the NFL by opening day. This one's easy, guys. He should be. He's earned it. He's deserved it. On the field, off the field, MVP, first-round pick, led his team to the playoffs. He's checked every box. I think Deshaun Watson's contract is the floor, and hopefully they could find some ground to work out a deal between now and opening day, and he'll be the highest paid player in the history of the NFL.
Well, he is in camp, so begs the question here, Jeff, what's the latest on Lamar and his contract talks with the Ravens?
Well, Lamar has made clear to the Ravens that at some point there will be a cutoff, that there will be a point where he says, I'm playing this season without a new contract. I'm not going to negotiate in the middle of the season. The team and him remain optimistic that they will get a deal done. There have been offers gone back and forth. They're not at the point in the guaranteed money to get there. But ultimately, both sides holding out hope this does get done before the season. But I want to just continue to reiterate, Lamar Jackson is a different dude, and he is not afraid to go into this season and play this season without a new contract. I know that sounds wild, but Lamar is willing to do it.
So, you know, he's playing here and negotiating without, let's say, a traditional agent, because obviously he's using his mother. You've had some experience with this, Mike T. I remember when Darrelle Revis was going through a contract, he was using his uncle, Sean Gilbert. How does that affect the relationship and the negotiations on something like this?
Brian, it's a great point. From a club standpoint, you hated when players didn't have an agent. Agents play a necessary role. Things are said in negotiations that are better left unheard by the principals. And I think that has to be one of the reasons, Brian, we don't have a deal right now. That and the structure of Deshaun Watson's contract, because beyond that, the market is fully formed. This should be an easy deal to get done. So the fact that he doesn't have an agent has to be a complicating factor. I never liked when that happened. It's rare. We're seeing a little bit more nowadays, but it's just something that I know teams are reticent to deal with.
I think the teams are reticent to deal with it in part because it makes your job a lot harder. Because if you think about the relationship of the agent with the players and the agent with the teams, like an agent will have a 20, 30-year working relationship with GMs or teams. They have a 4, 5, 6, 7-year relationship with the player. So oftentimes I think that's why players more often now are going outside of the traditional structure, because you recognize that incentive lies for the agent to keep their relationship healthy with the team. It does not necessarily lie with them putting their reputation on the line to fight for one player. But you know who is? Your mother or your uncle. And Sean Gilbert was the ex-player and involved in a lot of union-related issues for Darrelle Revis. So I think that confidence gives you something. If you look at the dynamics of the situation, I could understand, while I had an agent my entire career and I have an agent now, I can understand why a principal in this situation would feel more comfortable with someone that they truly trust, not someone that they have to trust out of the circumstance.
And then you have the outside chatter, because it seems like every week, whether it's a former Raven, whether it's an anonymous GM coming out saying, hey, Lamar's not this, Lamar's not that. Do you think any of that affects the contract talks, D. Wood?
No, not at all. I mean, listen, the Baltimore Ravens know what Lamar Jackson is. Lamar Jackson knows the accomplishments that he's had. And I think, you know, Mike T talked about it. You know, really it should be kind of easy, considering all the accomplishments that Lamar Jackson's had and some of the contracts that's already been worked out with some of these other quarterbacks in the league. It's just all about getting it done. The outside chat is not going to affect, you know, what the contract situation is going to be.
Yeah, listen, the man's a former MVP. Yeah. You've designed your entire offense around it.
I think that we talk a lot about how Lamar Jackson shouldn't go into this season without a contract. The Ravens should not allow Lamar Jackson to go into this season without a contract, because as you notice, quarterbacks don't get cheaper. By the time, and if Lamar Jackson performs the way we expect him to perform the way that he's been performing for much of his career, and the way the Ravens want him to perform, his price is only going to go up. Like, they, assuming that he's healthy by the end of this year, which I know he had some injury issues last year, but all players do. Assuming that he's healthy by the end of this year, and also assuming that his ability or his effectiveness is connected to his athleticism, the later you wait to sign that contract, the more likely you are going to be tied to Lamar Jackson later in his career when that athleticism is not quite the same. So while we feel the pressure is definitely on Lamar Jackson, I feel like there's a ton of pressure on the Ravens to get this done as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.